Polyvagal theory, developed by Dr Stephen Porges, reshaped our understanding of the human nervous system and the body's response to threat and social interactions. Before polyvagal theory, the nervous system was thought to act in a binary manner, like a light switch, with the body's stress response being in an on or off state. According to this perspective, threat causes the autonomic nervous system to activate a fight or flight response, and once the threat is gone, we return to feeling safe and calm. According to Dr. Porges, human responses to stress are too varied and nuanced to be adequately explained by a binary model. Instead, he proposed a three-part hierarchy, like a ladder. At the top of the ladder is ventral vagal social engagement. This is a state of safety in which we can emotionally relate and connect to others. In this state, we can feel more open, peaceful, and curious. Moving down one rung, we get to sympathetic activation. This is a defensive state in which the body mobilizes us for fight or flight in order to quickly dispatch threat. To do this, our heart beats faster, our breathing becomes fast and shallow, our muscles tense, and stress hormones flood our body. At the bottom of the ladder is dorsal vagal shutdown. When our nervous system is intensely activated and we still can't dispatch the threat, a protective part of the nervous system shuts down or freezes, like a turtle withdrawing into its shell. We may flop to the floor or curl up in a ball. Our heart rate, blood pressure, and facial expressions all decrease. We may have difficulty thinking and speaking clearly, and we can feel numb, dizzy, or disconnected. Here's a very simple example of the polyvagal ladder in action. Jane is enjoying a video call with an old friend. She is in a ventral vagal state and feels safe and able to connect and empathize with others. A loud crash upstairs startles her. Jane's sympathetic nervous system responds to the potential threat by mobilizing her body for fight or flight. Jane's pupils dilate, her breathing becomes shallower, and her heart beats faster. Alternatively, Jane might respond by entering a dorsal vagal state, a kind of playing dead survival mechanism of last resort. Jane becomes still and holds her breath. She is unable to communicate with her friend or take any kind of action. How Jane's nervous system will react will depend on a range of factors, not least her previous life experiences. Another key part of polyvagal theory is the role of the vagus nerve. In Latin, vagus means wandering, and true to its name, the vagus nerve wanders from the brainstem throughout the body, regulating many bodily functions including heart rate, breathing, digestion, and immune function. The vagus nerve is responsible for the body's rest and digest response, as opposed to the fight or flight response of the sympathetic nervous system. There are two branches to the vagus nerve: ventral, meaning front, and dorsal, meaning back. A good way to understand the difference is to think of the ventral as a foot brake that slows you down, allowing you to enter a calm and safe place, and the dorsal as an emergency brake, stopping you immediately in your tracks. The vagus nerve is part of the parasympathetic nervous system, which itself is part of the autonomic nervous system. Don't worry too much about these details. The key point is that the vagus nerve is separate from the sympathetic fight or flight pathway. The goal of the autonomic nervous system is to keep us safe and alive, and it achieves this using something called neuroception, which works a bit like an internal smoke detector for cues to safety and danger. Before Jane had time to think, neuroception in her body had already scanned her environment and used this information to make changes to her heart rate, breathing, and muscle tension via the vagus nerve. Neuroception takes place automatically and without involving the thinking part of our brain. It's the reason why you might feel uneasy in a situation without consciously knowing why. Neuroception is essential to survival, as it allows us to react rapidly to potential threats and social interactions. Co-regulation is another core component of polyvagal theory and is fundamental to feeling safe and secure in relationships. The autonomic nervous system does not work in isolation and is regulated through connections with other nervous systems. These nervous systems support and influence each other through the mutual sending and receiving of signals for safety. Through co-regulation, emotional and physiological states, such as heart rate and breathing, become synchronized. When we feel safe and supported by others, our autonomic nervous system can manage stress and emotional responses better. This is why polyvagal theory is sometimes called the science of safety. Co-regulation begins in the womb when an unborn baby hears its mother's voice, which becomes a comforting sound. As an infant, they associate this voice with other comforting cues, such as a parent's smile. And as a toddler, they learn to seek co-regulation from their parent whenever they feel distressed. Even when we learn to self-regulate, we continue to seek co-regulation so that we can feel safe, calm, and connected to others. Co-regulation can be more difficult for those who've experienced chronic stress or trauma, as they may find it harder to establish a sense of safety. Faulty neuroception, that is, the inability to accurately assess whether a situation is safe or dangerous, can cause us to become hardwired to experience threat, stress, and anxiety, even when we're safe. As a consequence, we can become locked in a protective fight or flight or shut down state, unable to connect with others. If we don't have a safe relationship in our life, we can get back to a ventral vagal state with safe therapeutic relationships and exercises that activate the vagus nerve. Even noticing micro moments of peace or joy, known as glimmers, can help us to get back to a ventral vagal state faster. Like muscle toning, it's possible to increase vagal tone so that we can cope better with stress and return to a ventral vagal state faster. Here are some ways to activate and tone the vagus nerve. Breathing deeply and slowly from the diaphragm stimulates the vagus nerve. Techniques such as box breathing and physiological sighing, that is, 2 inhales followed by an extended exhale, have been found to lower blood pressure and heart rate. The vagus nerve is connected to muscles at the back of the throat. Gargling contracts the muscles of the palate, which stimulates the vagus nerve. Vibrations caused by singing, humming, and chanting stimulate the vagus nerve, which passes through the vocal cords and the inner ear, and is linked to increased heart rate variability, reduced illness, and improved well-being. The vagus nerve is stimulated when the body is exposed to cold. Cold showers, splashing your face with cold water, or a blast of cold air through an open window dampen the fight or flight response and increase the rest and digest response. Vigorous movement like walking and running, weightlifting, and somatic exercises are good for our cognitive faculties, gut flow, and vagal tone. Laughter induces diaphragmatic breathing, which stimulates the vagus nerve, lowers blood pressure, and improves mood. Body scan meditation can also activate the vagus nerve. Lie down and close your eyes. Starting at the top of your head, scan down through your body, noticing areas of discomfort. Take deep breaths and imagine sending relaxing energy to each part of your body. Self-havening is a technique involving the touch of hands, upper arms, and face. Specific motions such as cupping your cheeks or crossing your arms like a self-hug stimulate the vagus nerve. Polyvagal theory has reshaped our understanding of the nervous system and the way we view stress, behavior, and well-being. I hope you found this video useful, and if you have any questions about polyvagal theory, I'll do my best to answer them in the comments below.